Hello and welcome to Budget with Brian, and my sad ending of my 8-meter magnetic Milwaukee tape measure. I've had this for maybe 18 months, maybe a bit longer, and what happened is it just, I tried bending it, not deliberately, but just to try and get a measurement in, and it just ripped. So, what do you replace it with? I did find that the 8-meter one was probably a little bit over the top and a little bit unnecessary. What I liked about this one is it had a great belt clip. The tape itself was very clear to see. After many days of use, it wasn't showing too bad a wear and tear, although for its claims I did think it was probably more than I was expecting. At some point the magnet snapped off and I had to glue it back on, which was fine. It's not come back off again since, but it is dead. This heavy old 8-meter tape measure has had its day. I'll hang on to it, but it's it's next to useless at this point. So what do you replace it with? So I thought I would have a look at the updated stud. It's an odd name for a tape measure, really, but I suppose if you're measuring studs, that's fine. But the 5-meter, and I went, instead of just the metric, which I had on here, I was encouraged to get the metric and imperial, just basically because when you're measuring materials, sometimes they are still in sometimes they are still in imperial, which, when you pull the tape out and it lands on a imperial mark, you're able to go, oh right, okay, that's 4-inch rather than it's whatever it is in millimeters, which is going to be an odd number. You can just say, oh, it's a 4-inch or whatever. So that's why I went for this one. A little bit lighter, a little bit functionally. We've got. Actually, I will tell you why I went with the metric only one, is because I found that when I was measuring things, where it would land, where you'd want, say, like 100 millimeters there, it'd always be like where you wanted to measure it was always like the other side of the tape where it'd be measuring metric, and you end up sort of trying to sort of turn things upside down or try and get an accurate measurement, so I found that really rather annoying. So that's why I went with metric only the first time round. But as for the reasons I've just explained, having metric and imperial does seem to be have its benefits as well. So I thought I'd try that this time round and see whether I was getting annoyed with it not landing on metric when I wanted it to. So this is how it comes. I bought this one. Well, I'll put a link below where I got this one from. Let's get it unpacked and see what it's like in comparison to my old one. Okay, so you just need to just undo that, and then you can unclip it here, and then it slips right off the packaging. That's it. We're good to go. Tape measure's ready. So I'm just going to try the. If you have a look at the belt clips, they are slightly different in design, but it looks like that's going to function the same. Yeah, I've just done a quick test. It does. They do seem to sort of function pretty much the same. I don't know whether they actually do kind of need sort of breaking in a bit or whatever, but I do find that this older one does clip on a little bit better. And when you look at the construction, in actual fact, the older tape measure, the magnetic one, does seem to be a little bit more robustly put together rather than the single screw here. This has got 3 and a plastic part around it, which does look a little bit more robust. You've got to ask, is on later generations, are they getting better or are they getting cheaper to make? But that's the belt clip. Moving to the front, you can see that physically they are a bit smaller, or the new one's a little bit smaller, and the styling is a little bit different. So moving to the actual tape itself, I have to say that this does feel really quite smooth. I don't know whether I'd got some dirt or dust or something in my old one, but it doesn't snap back as easily. The feeling of the tape compared to the last one. The last one had, well, this wasn't as wide by the look of it. The last one also had a slightly, I don't want to say matte, but you know, certainly a more textured feeling. This one is a little bit more plasticky, I'm going to say, but yeah, I mean it's got a bit more of a curve, you know, a curve on it in this way compared to the old one, which was, you know, pretty good. In terms of the measurements, yeah, I mean they're all nice and clear and so on. I mean, it looks great, doesn't it? And then on the back you've got some scales and other things there that are probably very useful. Magnet on the end. We'll test that out, see what they're both like in comparison. And the lock. Now, the lock on that is significantly better than it was on the magnetic one. That is going nowhere. So that's a massive improvement. I really did struggle with that. It used to just creep back all by itself. So that's pretty good. All right, let's test the magnet. So here's the old one on the on this RSJ, and that's pretty weak indeed. So no points for that one. Here's the new one, and big improvement. Yeah, would take a little bit more. I don't know whether really the magnets get weaker as they go, but which I imagine they would. And certainly that last one was covered in all sorts of metal filings and so on. But that is significantly stronger than the previous one. And plus also, you know, pulling out on this tape is a lot freer. It's a lot easier. So you can imagine that it's exerting less force on the magnet anyway. So yeah, definite improvement there as well. Now for the standout test, can't do a comparison with the old one because obviously it's snapped, but here we go. So you can pretend to be the tape measure itself. Here we go. That's 1.5 meters, still going well. I think it's said that you're supposed to be able to have 4 meters worth of standout on this, and I'm really not convinced about that. Right, we're at 3.5 meters now. Oh, and there we go. I think I did that. Let's try that again. Right, this is getting all a bit... Right, so we're at just about where we were before. It's 3.5. Let's see if we can get beyond 3.5. Right, that's at 3.5. Yeah, and I think really if they try and go any more, no chance. Okay. I've had some time now to use the new tape measure, and I have to say there are quite a few things in its operation that I really don't like. So we'll start off with one very obvious one, and one that will annoy many people almost instantaneously. Whereas on the old tape measure, this is the old magnetic Milwaukee metric only tape, which is the one that sadly broke on me. The head on this one is quite wide, and you've got a little bit of overlap, allowing you to hook onto things, and therefore do it as a single person operation. On the new one, because the tape itself is just that little bit wider, but the head size is the same. It's literally, let me see if I can put those together so you can see. They're exactly the same width. So you've got really very little or no overlap here to hook on, and this to me is an absolute design fail. As a tape measure, you should be able to hook onto things so you can pull the tape out and measure and so on. This doesn't work. All right, it's got a magnet on it, but really the operation, the times at which you get to use the magnet are very, very, very small. You never really get to use the magnet. The second thing that I find really annoying, and this was kind of predictable considering that the tape I bought before was metric only, is that top row. If you're right-handed as I am, and you pull out this tape, that top row is probably the one that you're going to want to try and get a measurement against, and yet metrics on the bottom. Okay, we kind of predicted that might be the case, getting this particular tape. So the third thing that's very annoying about this tape measure is where you've got increments, they show key points like 10 centimeters or 100 mil, 200 mil, 300 mil, and then suddenly you get this. Now at 400 mil, can you see a clear line that shows where that is? I can see where 39.5 is, and I can see where 405 is, but to accurately see where that 400 mil point is really, you can't see it. It's obviously there mixed up in 10 little lines rather than you being able to see one large fat one, which of course you can, you would, which you can on the metric only, and this is far easier to read metric. I would say, obviously along the tape here you also have some important points marked. For example, 12 inches 1 foot, 16 inches seems to be an important one. Not quite sure why. 24 inches, again, that's important. But it's just a little bit inconsistent. Why is 40 or 400 millimeters shown like this, where 50 is shown like this, 60 is shown like this, 70 is shown like this? Just makes no sense. Here we can see those hooks and how they are different. Again, on the old one, we can see we've got a nice overhang which allows us to hook on, whereas on the new one you don't. And the width of this tape, which obviously was designed to allow it to have a longer standout, they really should have widened the head on that so you've got a decent hook. The back of the tape has some similar type bits of information. There's an architect's scale there, which I should imagine is useful from time to time when you're trying to scale off drawings. Yeah. Does anybody know what these diamond points are? It'd be please put a comment below if you know what those diamond points mean. So my closing comment on this one is there's a little bit of regret in actually buying this particular tape. I find it awkward to use compared to the last one, and probably its most annoying feature is this one's probably a little bit more indestructible and will last for ages, and I'll have to put up with it for ages before I replace it with one I actually like. So there you go. Thanks again for watching Budget with Brian. If you've got any comments about tape measures or what you'd like to see next, please put them below. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And don't forget, subscribe!